potentially hundreds of thousands of people dying. We must demand the immediate negotiation of a peaceful end to the war in Ukraine, or we will end up in World War III, and there will be nothing left of our planet, all because stupid people didn't have a clue. They didn't have a clue. They don't understand. They really don't understand. I rebuilt our military. I rebuilt our nuclear power. They don't understand what they're dealing with, the power of nuclear. They have no idea what they're doing. I withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal.
I don't know if the audio was too low on that. The audio. What was the audio too low? Did we hear what? You know, I just tweeted out. I mean, it's going to be the essence of the intro here. You know, everybody is out there on Twitter, you know, claiming, arguing Putin is the equivalent of Hitler. Putin is Hitler 2.0, Hitler 2022. Let's just, this is a conflict where, much like, say, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, you ask both sides and the other side is going to be the incarnation of evil. But let's just operate on the basis. We accept the analogy. Putin is, in essence, the same as Hitler. He has global domination, ethnic cleansing, all of those aspirations. We'll operate on that basis for the sake of discussion. There's one material difference between Putin and Hitler, which is so determinate, it makes the comparison juvenile in its militaristic policy simplicity. They may have, I'll accept, in essence, Putin, for the purposes of argument, is spiritually, ideologically the same as Hitler. You know what the major difference is? Hitler didn't have nuclear weapons. Now, that doesn't make, if we're operating on this analogy, Putin's aspirations legitimate. It doesn't mean he should get away with it if that's the way the discussion is going. But it does mean that if you don't change your idealistic, oversimplified, militaristic policy response to that minor difference, Hitler did not have weapons susceptible of ending the world, whereas Putin does. If that doesn't change your approach, and you go back to appeasement policies, you go back to Chamberlain policies, you go back to you can't negotiate with fascist dictators because they will only ask for more. If that doesn't change your approach to viewing this conflict, you're probably wrong. You're probably part of a problem, which is if Putin is Hitler, there's no negotiation possible. A military victory is the only possible outcome. Well, if Putin is Hitler, he's Hitler plus nukes. And so that is a distinction. It's an all-out military response against a person as crazy, globally domineering as Hitler. Well, all-out conflict isn't really going to work when they have nuclear weapons as well. And so we're sitting in a world now, it's Monday, trying to not remain optimistic. And by the way, Chris, I'm not saying that this is true of Putin. I'm just, it simplifies all arguments when you concede or agree to agree on the premise of the opponent. Putin is Hitler. Okay, look, I don't think, I think there's more material distinctions. I think if Putin were genocidal, if Putin had ideas of global domination, this conflict with Ukraine, the war in Ukraine would look much different. I'm not an expert, so I wouldn't tout my opinion as though it carries any more weight than that. I think there's other differences. The idea is, I'll agree to the premise. Okay, you're right. Let's, for the sake of discussion, Putin is Hitler. Okay, well, there's a big difference. Putin has nuclear weapons. Hitler didn't. If that doesn't change how you view this conflict and a resolution to this conflict, you might be one of the people saying, I hope when things go down that I'm not in the line of fire. And now it's Monday morning, trying not to be a Debbie Downer, a Viva Valium. Try to start the week off not with optimism, because optimism is not always an asset. I say realism is the asset. You don't want to get down, but we lived through a weekend where, if anybody's on Twitter, you literally saw people cheering. Was it a suicide bomber who blew up the bridge joining Crimea to Russia? You had blue check marks, and lots of them, celebrating the fact that I think it was a suicide bomber or someone in a truck that blew up, damaged a portion of the bridge adjoining what some people view to be an annexed Crimea, what other people view to be a Crimea that voted for independence or voted to join Russia. You have people cheering on. I've been waiting for this day. It's like a dream. People died, by the way. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how many or whom they were, but people died. An attack on critical infrastructure, people celebrating. There were videos of people in bars cheering, blue check marks saying, I've been dreaming of this day forever. Oh, if you think Putin is Hitler, what do you think Hitler would do if he had just bombed a bridge adjoining, let's go by the analogies, but they're not analogous, adjoining an annexed land to Nazi Germany? What do you think Hitler would do? Would Hitler say, you got me, war's over, here, let's stop now? What do you think a nuclear armed Hitler would do? Oh, you got me, you got the bridge, but apparently the bridge has been repaired in any event, but you got me. What do you think a Hitler would do? It reminds me of that scene from Fight Club where, Meatloaf and all the others, they're running around blowing things up, and then Meatloaf gets, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, but something bad happens to Meatloaf. And Tyler Durden says, what did you think was going to happen? You're running around blowing stuff up. What did you think was going to happen? And so over the weekend, celebrating an attack on critical infrastructure, and now conflict being what it is, it's not a one-game chess board where only one person gets to move at a time. Now we have Putin, Russia, launching missiles, hitting Kiev, and killing innocent people. And people are screaming in horror now, as they should be. And then you get Donald Trump saying, we need to back off and negotiate something of a peace treaty, a settlement here. You get Elon Musk saying, this is what I would envision. I'm not a historian, but seems logical. Land-based it. No, people want to go to war, and people want to continue with this war. And you see how it doesn't escalate. It degenerates. It's, you blew up my bridge, I'm bombing your cities. You bombed my cities, now I'm bombing your cities. This is how, like, the conflict in Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland. Brothers killing brothers, and then brothers avenging the deaths of their brothers. And it's an endless spiral. We've seen it in Israel-Palestinian conflict. We're seeing it now. And it's not a question of cooler heads not prevailing. You got people who are just hoping, banking on the fact that they're not going to be in the crosshairs, saying, go, go, go. Can't negotiate with Hitler, even if Hitler has nuclear weapons, where all-out conflict would probably end the world as we know it. It's grown men acting like children, grown men sending other people's children to the slaughter. The people egging on Ukraine to not accept any form of a negotiated settlement with Russia. Well, they're pretty shielded. They're pretty far away, or they're politicians in their bunkers. They're politicians in their safe spots. And now the people saying this is getting serious. Putin, Hitler, as you might think he is, big difference. And maybe we need to figure out a way to solve this without, oh no, but Hitler wouldn't use nuclear weapons. Hitler, if Putin is Hitler and Putin has nuclear weapons, he wouldn't use them. He's rational. He knows that would be the end of him. Oh. And so over the weekend, people literally celebrating an attack on critical infrastructure as though in a war there would be no retaliatory response. Anyway, it's tough not to get down. You have to have faith and not the blind faith. You have to have the faith, but do the work as well and push people in the right direction. Cooler heads will prevail. And at some point, this endless spiral, because it goes one of two ways. It either spirals well out of control, or, the conflict continues, but the West's interest in it becomes less and less. It wanes over time. And so you end up having this conflict years down the line, but the West is no longer interested in it. And yet innocent people caught in the crosshairs are still suffering. So that's it. That's the intro. Yeah. Curmudgeon. Let's just see. Have we been demonetized? Apparently, when you say Hitler too many times on YouTube, we're still green. I genuinely don't care about it. Just want to see what the rules are for this week. So that's that. Just people should appreciate that. If you think Putin is Hitler, okay, he's Hitler plus nukes. That should change the way you deal with him. You may not like it, and life is not fair, and sometimes the only good solution is the one that leaves everybody unhappy. I would argue to say more often than not, the only good solution is the one that leaves everyone relatively equally unhappy. And for the love of goodness, that avoids more innocent bloodshed, because the wars are fought by men and women in boardrooms, and it's suffered by boys and girls on the street.